Well, good morning, Margaretha Eriksson. Happy to have you here at the National Library in Latvia, in Riga, for the Digital Era event. And you're a GDPR and cybersecurity expert with Arcando.
That's true.
So is this the first time to Riga?
No, I've been visiting Riga since the early 90s actually, and I've seen it explode with the high rises and everything, so it's amazing to come here this time of the season. It's really beautiful.
So, what are the most important aspects for creating and implementing security policies that companies are forced to do after GDPR is in effect now?
Well, I think it's two things. First of all, it's to have a policy that actually is possible to execute on, because many policies are just theoretical. They may be written by lawyers, and they don't have that much of connection to the real world. So make sure that those parts that actually apply to people are actionable. That's the first thing. And the other thing is to communicate them, to teach, train, talk about it, so we know what's there, because otherwise it's just like another ISO 9000 thing that sits in a binder and collects dust. These are live things, and they're basic code of conduct in many ways. So it's about how you do mailings, how you share data, what data you collect, and again about the regular personal data that we have, as well as the sensitive data that we should really treat with care, and things we do and don't do. And it's basic code of conduct, really, and it's a bit new.
So we're also referring to this as privacy by design when we talk about the processes. So there's two things, I think. One is the security policies, and the other is the privacy by design, which is more product or solution focused.
Well, I think I'm going to talk about privacy by design today, and it's a lot of things that actually makes privacy by design to work. It's about how we design our systems, it's how about we use our systems, and also how we communicate and educate our users, as well as customers and clients. So the keynote now in the morning was about trust in a brand, which is very much about how we treat the data of our customers. So it's many-legged things. It's not that it's only product, or it's only people, or it's only process. It's all of it.
So what would be your recommendation to the customers that you have? You said loyalty in the brand. I have one example that we just discussed was HBO, who got hacked for the Game of Thrones Series 7. But most of the fans didn't watch the series before it was officially released by HBO. So that's a grand example of brand loyalty. How could companies in the industry achieve something like this?
I think it's about that you have a relationship. And if you have a relationship, there are certain rules, whether they are told or untold. There's certain ways of behavior, and if you binge into Game of Thrones, well, of course you will take the chance. But if you're on that regular track, you probably follow it as it is. And someone who hasn't may take the chance to jump in. So I think it's very much up to having a relationship, and that relationship actually protects a lot of things. It gives you the power to trust each other, and that means that it doesn't need to say too much in writing or in proposing. It's just, yeah, we're friends, we trust each other.
So does this also mean that the leadership of companies needs to lead by example?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about culture in companies, which has also an impact on the loyalty of consumers to the company.
And I think that is actually that positive relationship that comes out of this. Now we're having this tons of emails saying that you're a dear customer of us, please understand that we're taking good care of your personal data and you as well. And of course that can be a positive communication, using it in a good way for marketing, for building a relationship. I've seen others saying that this is the way it is. I mean, that's not a good way of using the GDPR, because it's an opportunity to actually to strengthen a relationship.
Yeah. And looking at the impact that disruptive technologies in the industry can have, I'm thinking of Uber. Mm-hmm. I admit I have never used an Uber myself before, because as of last year I did not like the company because of their leadership. But many people use it just because it was so cheap. I mean, there's two different things. You can educate the consumers, but then price is also an issue for them. How can we tackle problems like that to force companies to comply to rules and change their behavior?
I think in the sense of GDPR, it's a global law. It's a European Union law with a global impact. I'm going to talk about that in the afternoon too. Comparing a global organization and its efforts to be compliant with a company that's working inside the nation in Sweden, and it's quite different picture. So I think the conduct of the leadership of a company, wherever it is crucial, because you can hate it or you can love it, and of course there's a money issue to that. So if it's easy to use Uber or whatever service, and you disregard whatever conduct they do, it's fine. It's up to you. And I think those companies that have an ethical touch on what they do, respect for human beings and whatever, are much better off when it comes to a tricky situation.
Mm-hmm. And one last comment I'd like to hear from you is, what are the areas that are most likely to be hit by cyber criminals coming in the near future?
I think it's to use the human naivety to come into systems, whatever systems there are, whether it's spear phishing to leadership and getting hand on money, because it's about money, or getting access to resources inside companies. The more we protect the technical part, the more we push the attacks towards soft targets, us, and that's where it goes, and it will be more of that. And even bypassing humans, because if a company, well, those black companies, can harvest data from me in a way that I don't even know, like introducing Trojans or any backdoors, so I'm not even aware that my credentials are stolen. Easy path into whatever system, and they can do whatever, and there's no trace of it.
If you believe most of the reports on cybersecurity, the greatest risk, as you just mentioned, is social engineering. So about 50% of the risk that is there is because people are naive, as you say. How can we educate people to not fall into those traps?
Well, I will be a duck. Keep on talking about it. See that we have this vulnerability as humans. We're easily approached. We like to be loved, and we also react to threats. And that's the typical path. Either give us something very nice, it's free, or if you don't do this within the next few hours, it's like hell will raise. And have that second thought of that. And of course, if you're a kid, what do you know? If you're an elderly person, you have a different view. And we also have the situation today that the generation that is coming into professional life are digital by nature. So they don't care that much about the their digital IDs. It's just there. So things will happen. And I think it's about common sense. And as you know, common sense is more difficult than you think. So again, communication, critical thinking, it comes into that, what we learned about how to deal with our society.
So I think that's actually a very good summary. So it's the 3 C's. It's communication, it's critical thinking, and it's common sense. Thank you very much, and enjoy the digital area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.